Chapter 9, Invitation to Yufo. Although Jiang Xuning was reborn, the only advantage is that this brain is much more mature than her body and her foresight of some things that will happen in the future. She thought about it seriously. In fact, if she can hook up with the eldest princess of Liang in this life, it will undoubtedly add a layer of security to her safety in addition to Yanlin. It's just that she is indeed not a man. If a woman pretends to be a man first makes Shen Zai fall in love with her, and then she knows the truth, I am afraid that the ending will be similar to the previous life. God knows how much effort it took her in her last life to snatch the opportunity for Jiang Sui to enter the palace to study. As a result, on the first day of entering the palace, he bumped into Shen Zai. At that time, she knew that the girl brought by Shen Zhu at the Chongyang Lantern Festival was actually the sister of the current Saint Shen Lang, the eldest princess of Liang, Shen Zai. And this time the companion reading in the palace was really selected for her. So Jiang Xuning fell into bad luck. After Shen Zai found out that she was her daughter, even if her face was black, she probably felt that she was infatuated with the wrong payment. She couldn't accept it, and she couldn't hold her face, and then she made things difficult for her everywhere. Yanlin has played with Shen Zai since he was a child, so he quarreled with Shen Zai several times. Shen Zai hated her again, and felt that her words were provocative, which made Yanlin have a quarrel with herself, and made her more and more embarrassed. Although this eldest princess actually doesn't know how to really learn from people, it was very difficult for Jiang Xuning to accept it at that time, so much so that now when she looks back on those days, she feels that the tone is dark. The pink wood hibiscus was held in the palm of her hands, and the memories related to Shen Zai in her previous life were all crossed from her mind. Jiang Xuning raised her head and stared at Yanlin, and suddenly felt that his youthful heart had really been vividly reflected in his words. He is domineering and does not know how to hide it. As soon as he came, he said to her, I want to take you to see it, not do you want to see it together. Jiang Xuning smiled slightly, and suddenly had a little teasing thoughts, and asked him, the Chongyang Lantern Festival is the 9th day of the 9th lunar month, but today is only the 7th day of the 9th lunar month, so you will come to me. Yan Linyuan was still sitting on the wall very chicly. As soon as she said this, his eyes suddenly became a little evasive, and even the fingers holding the sword tightened, but after thinking about it, he felt that he really had no need to be weak-hearted, so he immediately became rational again. I want you to take care of it, I am willing. I just want to come to see you, what's wrong? Lianer, who was standing beside Jiang Xuning, was stunned, and hurriedly buried her head, not daring to raise it to take a closer look. Jiang Xuning didn't expect his words to be so bold and straightforward, and when she thought of those things in her previous life, she couldn't help but be a little silent. Yanlin was dissatisfied. Do you want to go? Jiang Xuning put on a slightly apologetic smile. I won't go this time. But if you want to see any lantern show next time, come to me, and I will go with you. She can actually go out in women's clothes. In this way, you can avoid being taken by the eldest princess of Liang. But women's clothing will inevitably attract attention when going out, which is very inconvenient, so it is better not to go, and she is not interested in any lantern festival. Yanlin frowned. You say this strangely, why don't you go this time? What is the difference between this time and the next time? It's just that the lights are different each time. Or do you have something else to do on that day of Chongyang and can't go? Jiang Xuning thought about it for a while, and simply made an excuse for herself. I came back this morning and felt a little dizzy, and I wanted to rest at home for 2 days. Yanlin looked at her face. It's not good, indeed. His Ningning was much whiter than others, and when he stood in the light, his skin was like a very clear jade, which made people want to reach out and caress it. After returning home, he changed into a dress, no longer the usual men's clothes he used to wear. The figure of the girl who has passed the age of 18 is already exquisite, standing under the flower tree at the moment, holding the wood hibiscus that he had just smashed down with both hands, and the fingers like peeling the onion roots are on the bright pink petals covered with red glow. A palm-sized face is raised, looking up at him slightly, her eyes are gentle and clear, and it is a moving bright and delicate. I didn't pay attention to it when I first came, but this look stirred the young man's heart. I just hope that the day of the crowning will come sooner, so that I can marry such a good-looking her home and spoil her. Yan Lin met her gaze, coughed again, avoided it a little, and then said, "It's all because I didn't know the severity of it last night, and I didn't take good care of you, so I told you to secretly drink several glasses and get drunk like a lazy cat. That's it, then you can rest at home these days. I'll ask how long the next Lantern Festival will be, and I'll make up for it for you." Jiang Xuning was thinking about going back to him. Unexpectedly, a shout suddenly came from the other end of the distance, "Okay, tell me to catch you and climb the wall again. Believe it or not, I will turn around and report to the Hoyet and ask him to judge the reason. Is there a son of you who has done this?" It turned out that Zhang Boyu happened to see the situation here when he passed by. Yan Lin suddenly felt a headache. Zhang Boyu didn't say a word and threw his sleeves and came here, hoping to find a long bamboo pole to poke Yan Lin down. "Little Hoyet, you are too much to do this, right? There is more than one girl in my house." Yan Lin didn't understand, "But I only look at her." Zhang Boyu was so angry that his beard blew up. "Anyway, you are not allowed to climb this wall again, you are a dignified prince of the mansion. If you have something to do, go to the front door or ask your subordinates to pass a message. The old man will not talk about you like this. What kind of system?" Yan Lin and Zhang Boyu had already been acquainted with each other, and with a twist of his wrist, he flipped over the long sword, and made a joke without being stunned. "Master Zhang doesn't have to be angry, isn't this wall just for people to climb?" Zhang Boyu was angry for a while and couldn't speak. Yan Lin looked at the sky and it was not early, although he still wanted to see Jiang Xuning for a while, but he really wanted to go back to the house to ask his father and mother for peace, so he looked back at her and said, "I'll leave first today, and I'll come to see you another day." Jiang Xuning nodded. Yan Lin supported his hand, jumped from the wall full of wood hibiscus, and went to the wall in the blink of an eye, and disappeared. Only Zhang Boyu was left staring at the place. Jiang Xuning smiled when she saw this, and for some reason she felt a lot more comfortable, so she only saluted Uncle Zhang and turned back to her room. I could only hear Zhang Boyu muttering behind her, "What is this called?" When Jiang Xuning returned to the house, Tanger had already been waiting for a while, and when she saw her, she said, "I went to find Lord Zhou according to the girl's instructions, and as soon as Lord Zhou heard that you were looking for it, he waited outside. It's just that you were called by your wife, and you didn't come back for a while, and Lord Zhou had something to look for at him, so he couldn't wait. But I left a message for you, saying that the girl has something to do, and it is inconvenient in the house. If you don't like to be condescending, you can also go to Shijahutong to find him, and you will not dare to snub the girl. It's dark when I come back," and Jiang Xuning didn't expect to see Zhou Yunzi. But in the end, the other party still left a sentence. If you look at what happened in her previous life, Zhou Yunzi during this time was when she wanted to catch Yan Lin in every possible way, but I was afraid that she also wanted to see her very much. She only said "I know," and when she planned to find a convenient way to go out without attracting attention, she went to talk to Zhou Yunzi, and then sat down on the kong near the window. When I stretched out my hand to serve tea, I suddenly saw a post on the several. Jiang Xuning raised her eyebrows slightly and picked it up. "What is this?" Earlier, When Tanger was pulled into the house by Lianer in a startle, she was actually holding this post in her hand, but then she almost forgot about serving Jiang Xuning to bathe and use tea, and then she remembered when she saw this, and hurriedly said, "It's a post sent by several young ladies from Qingyuan Bafo, please go to their house to enjoy chrysanthemums on that day." The post was only delivered to the house this morning, and the slave wanted to tell you earlier, but then she almost forgot about it after delaying. Qingyuan Bafo. Jiang Xuning's eyelids jumped suddenly. But Qingyuan Boyu Mansion. Tanger looked at her reaction and felt a little surprised, but she didn't know why she reacted like this, so she said, "It's Yufo. Qingyuan Bafo is not a famous family in Beijing, and the lord is not as good as a generation now. Although the two young ladies in the house are good at playing with flowers and plants, this invitation has collided with the time when the Qingyuan Mansion invites people to enjoy the chrysanthemums. Just now, someone said that the invitation from the Qingyuan Mansion also went down to the wife, and I thought I wanted to take you and the eldest girl together. The invitation of this uncle's house, the girl really doesn't have to care." "Don't care? How can you not care?" Qingyuan Boyu Mansion. Yu Fangyan, whom she knew in her previous life, was Miss Shu of Bafo, who was once overboard. Her temperament changed greatly, and finally she went into business and became the richest person in Jiangning City, the richest place in Daqian. But this time fell into the water. It happened on the day when Qingyuan Bafo Chongyang appreciated the chrysanthemum. In other words, Yu Fangyan, who is a merchant in the world and a rich party in the future, has not yet fallen into the water, nor has he really come to this world. Yu Fangyan, who is now in Qingyuan Bafo, is not the same person as the Yu Fangyan she once met in her previous life and Yu Fangyan, who she wants to reacquaint herself with in this life. Yu Fangyan once said that she came through time. Jiang Xuning didn't understand this at the time, but only understood that she said that she came from a distant place that she couldn't go back to, and she wasn't from their place. But after she was reborn, she could vaguely understand Yu Fangyan's meaning. Yu Fangyan is lonely after all. Others only know that she acts differently from her surroundings, when she is deviant and bold, but only she knows that she is not the same as the people around her. Maybe it's not a world. In Jiang Xuning's understanding, the word world is what Buddhism likes to say, but Yu Fangyan always seems to like to use it instead of the word world. At this moment, looking at the invitation card in his hand that had been extremely elegant, the fine smile that Jiang Xuning still had on his face before disappeared little by little. Another choice was in front of her. If Yu Fangyan came to this world in this life like in the previous life, she might be one of the few people who could understand her. After all, in the previous life, she became a confidant who talked about everything during the days when she was under house arrest, proving that she was indeed compatible with Yu Fangyan. With Yu Fangyan's ability, and then relying on the prophetic advantage of her rebirth, the two sides cooperated. As long as they were cautious in the early stage and managed well, they may not be able to fight with Xie Wei. In Yu Fangyan's words, she will become Jiang Xuning's golden thighs. But Jiang Xuning still knows, Yu Fangyan hates this world in her bones. That night, lying in the curtain of the bed that hung down from the light veil, she tossed and turned, unable to sleep for a long time. Memories of past lives swirl through my mind. As soon as I closed my eyes, I was in a trance in my dream, and I went back to the days when I was trapped in Cunning Palace, playing chess, drinking, playing leaf cards, and telling the truth with Yu Fangyan. For a while, she was wearing a cloth dress and threw all the shelves of scripture and history into the brazier. For a moment it was her walking barefoot on the ground, humming songs she had never heard before when the night was as cold as water. For a moment she was drunk again, carrying a wine jug, sitting on the edge of the window, looking at the full moon outside the palace wall, lonely and lonely. Yu Fangyan leaned on the couch and said, Niang Niang, I came from afar, and it was a much better era than here. I'm on the outside, you're in the game. I never think there's anything wrong with a woman being a little ambitious. If you want to be a queen, you want to be a queen, and you haven't done anything hurtful. It's not you who is wrong, it's the world. Yu Fangyan held the wine cup and sneered, poor, ridiculous. Yu Fangyan also pointed to the full moon in the sky and said, others look at me as rich, and there is nothing in the world that I can't buy with money. But I look at myself as a wretched worm. A free heart, but trapped in prison, suffering cannot come out. Niang Niang, do you know that in that world, there are friends who miss me, and there are parents who treat me with filial piety. Those words gradually became choked in Jiang Xuaning's dream, and they were soaked in tears. The night passes, and you can't sleep. When Jiang Xuaning got up early the next morning, a faint bloodshot crawled in her eyes, and she felt a hesitation that even she could not capture. She really needs Yu Fangyan so much. But at the same time, rebirth gave her the opportunity to change the fate of this confidant. Tang Er was very worried when she saw her. Jiang Xuaning only asked, is the invitation from Qing Yuan Bafa still there? Tang Er said cautiously, it's still there, are you going? Jiang Xuaning blinked, and after a long time, she said, go. Always going to go. But what should I do when I go? She didn't know.